Mubarak for you is my prayer. May you keep ascending success. Stay, Mubarak for you is my prayer. May you keep ascending success. Stay.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'awudhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabi Allah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nur Allah. There are many blessings in reciting Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The companion Abu Talha Ansari radiyallahu anhu said that one day the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam began the morning extremely happy. Signs of joy were visible upon his face. The companions, they asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you have begun the morning extremely happy and a sign of joy can be seen on your face. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied that a visitor came to me from my Rabb, and he said, whoever sends one salat upon you from your nation, Allah will record 10 good deeds for him, erase 10 bad deeds, raise him by 10 ranks, and send him the same amount of mercies as well. Allah Akbar. Just one Durud Pak. Just one salawat upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu. How long does it take? At the beginning of the Bayan, I said, As-salatu, and you read it with me. That was 4 times you said Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu. How long did that take? It doesn't take any time. And in our lives, we have time. We just waste our time. And as Muslims, we should never have wasted time. You know, you're waiting for something. You're waiting for your bus. You're waiting for the taxi. You're waiting for your next customer. You're waiting to see the doctor. All of this, if you don't utilize that time, it becomes wasted time. And we haven't got time to waste. And in today's world, everybody's talking about multitasking. That to be able to do 2 things at one time, to be able to do 3 things at one time. Unless you actually use your tongue as part of your job, unless you're actually constantly speaking, then there is no reason why whatever job you are doing, you can perform your duties and at the same time, send Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So try and make it part of your daily routine. Try and make it part of your daily routine, and you'll see the benefits of it. You know, there was a sister not very far from here, and she was blessed with a vision of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a dream. So the sisters went to her to find out, you know, what is it that she do? What is it that you do that's so unique? They want, maybe she reads the Hajjat, maybe she keeps Nafli Roza, maybe she do this, maybe, and they were asking her, do you read the Hajjat? No. Do you read Nafal? No. Do you do it? No, they couldn't work out what it is that she does. So then they said, you know, what can you explain what you do in a daily routine? She said, the Nek Amal card, I live my life to the best of my ability according to that. And they asked her, okay, out of the Nek Amal card, which is 72 questions for brothers and 63 questions for sisters, after this one, which do you make sure that you do every day? Is there any specific one that you should do every day? And she said, you know this one, where it says to recite Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 3,313 times, I make sure I never miss that. And the sister said, wait, what? What did you say? And the sister said, yeah, I make sure that every day I recite Durud Pak 3,313 times. Now I would advise you all, you know, inshallah, after this Ishtamal, there'll be a brother available to you. If you haven't got the Nek Amal app on your phone, get it. If you haven't got the card, then get it. In that, it actually says 313 times. It doesn't say 3,313 times. But she misread it. She misread it. And she read 3,313 instead. And look at the reward that she got. Look at the reward that she got. That she was blessed with the visitation of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the sisters, they were convinced. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. But the sisters, they said that we believe is because of the fact that this sister on a daily basis always made sure that she read Durud Pak 3,313 times on the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was rewarded. And that's something that we need to try and aim for. You know, everybody wants to be able to see the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their dreams. It's a ambition, it's a lifelong ambition to everybody. You know, there was a person, before I even start the topic of the day, there was a person, he went to a pious person. And he said to him, I want to see the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream. What do I need to do? Give me some wazifa, give me something to do. And the person said, listen, go home. On the way home, by 1.5 kilos of salty fish. 1.5 kilos of salty fish, sea fish, yeah, fish from the sea. Cook it, eat it, don't drink any water, go to bed. So the person thought, this is good. Is that all I've got to do? So he went home. On the way home, he bought 1.5 kilos of fish. He went home, he cooked the fish. He didn't drink any water, went to bed. Next morning he gets up, he goes and finds that pious person and said, you said to me that I would see the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in my dream. And the person says, calm down. What did you see? You know, did you see anything in your dream? He said, yeah. He said, what did you see? He said, oh, water, rain, fountains, drinks, orange juice, grapefruit juice, fizzy drinks. I saw all these things in my dream. And the person said to him, look, you had that fish. You had that fish. You went to bed thirsty. Because you went to bed thirsty, in your dream, what did you see? Water. You saw drinks. Until you have that thirst inside your heart, the same thirst that you had for water, until you have that same thirst inside your heart, you'll never see the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in your dreams. So we need to develop that thirst inside us. You know, everybody says, I love. Everybody says, I want. But do you really? Do you have that thirst inside you? And only when you have that thirst inside you, inshallah, will that thirst be quenched. And I pray to Allah, as well as all the people that are here today, all the people that are watching Madani Channel, and all the people that see it in the future, are all blessed. Blessed with being able to see the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their dreams. Sallu ala al-Habib. My dear Islam brothers and viewers of Madani Channel, thousands of nations have lived on this earth and they've achieved many, many things. But then they decline. After a period of time, they decline. No nation ever stays at the top forever. At the moment, if we look at the superpowers of the world, they've not always been the superpowers. There's always been powers that have gone up and eventually the time comes down. And today what we're going to mention to you very briefly is, in the light of the Quran and the hadiths of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why is it that these nations get up there, but then they fall back down again? It is stated in the Quran, translation from Kanzul Iman, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, indeed, Allah does not change His favor upon any nation until they change their own condition. And it is written in Siratul Janan that it is the way that Allah, He does not take away the blessings of a nation until they prove their unworthiness through continuous disobedience. When Allah blesses a nation, any nation, when Allah blesses a nation, He grants them success. He gives them honor. He gives them happiness. He gives them affluence. He gives them all of these things. But if that same nation then starts to commit sins, if that same nation has evil traits, if that same nation becomes lazy and careless in their actions, they go away and start committing sins, then Allah will take them blessings away from them. Allah takes them blessings away. That nation, they will be disgraced. And history informs us that when a nation is ungrateful for the blessings it receives, like success, like honor, like serenity, the outcome of the nation becomes a source of admonition for us. If we look into the history, we find that the nation of Ad, they were given an abundance of strength and wealth. But when they became disobedient and unappreciative, Allah punished them with a hurricane. A certain nation will not be deprived of the blessings of Allah unless they change their condition. So if we look around the world and we see why we're facing problems, the reason why we are facing problems is normally our fault. That we've gone away from Allah. We've gone away from the commands of Allah. This verse that I mentioned early on tells us that success is not hereditary. Just because my fathers are successful doesn't mean to say I will be successful. Just because I'm successful, my children will not be successful. And we know this. Same with nations. One nation will develop whilst another will fall down. But it's not necessary that the nation that's going down will always stay down. It's not that necessary that the nation's always up there. They will always stay up there. Mufti Ahmad Diyar Khan Nimi, with regards to that verse, he said, blessings will be taken away due to ungratefulness. Due to being ungrateful. Irrespective of whether a nation is large or small, whether it is the homeland of a prophet, those who share lineage with the prophets, and even if they are from the family of a prophet. So we learn from here that blessings that we have, they are taken away from us due to being ungrateful. And if we look at ourselves, a lot of us, we're ungrateful. We're not happy with what Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us. We're always complaining. Why have I not got this? Why have I not got that? Why have I not this? Why? And this why, and I've said it many times before, if you're not careful with this why, by keep on saying why, it can take you to the boundaries of kufr. Because you are now questioning what Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you. You should be thankful for whatever Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you. Like I said at the beginning, be thankful that Allah Azza wa Jalla called you to the masjid. Be thankful for whatever Allah Azza wa Jalla blessings give to you. And again, we don't realize we're sitting here in Fazana, Medina and Rashid. We don't realize how lucky we are. If you become amongst those fortunate people that travel in the way of Allah, and you go around and you travel to different places, even in England. You go to places in Scotland, you go to places in Wales, you go to places in Ireland. You will go there and you will come back and you'll do 2 nafal shukrana that Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you this Fazana Medina. They don't have this. They don't have these facilities that we have. Maybe because we grow up in a community and we've got masjids on every other corner, we think, so what? So what is a masjid? Go to them, they would dream for this. They don't have these facilities. And there are many, many places, even today, where they do not have a masjid, they do not have a madrasa, they do not have these things that you have got. These are blessings from Allah. This Fazana Medina is a blessing from Allah. A masjid is a blessing from Allah. A madrasa is a blessing from Allah. There are places I've traveled around. People have got masjids in basements where it's leaking and it's damp. And they're happy that they've got that. And here days now, there's a little bit of problem. The water's not working, the boiler's not working, there's something wrong in the wuzu khan. We all start complaining. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you these blessings. You should be thankful for whatever blessings Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you. If we look at the time of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the people of Makkah, who were these people? Many of them were descendants of Bani Israel. And they were given the Kaaba, they were given all these things, these blessings. But then what happened? Them same people, when they started worshipping idols, them same people, they were disgraced. They were disgraced in the Battle of Badr. When there was only 313 Muslims against all of them, thousands of non-Muslims. Allah Azza wa Jalla disgraced them. Why? Because they had gone away from the commands of Allah. And so we need to look at our lives. We need to look at our lives and ask ourselves, the problems that we are facing, is it because we are not following the commands of Allah? Success, as I said to you before, is not gained through reputation. Success is not gained through lineage because you are the father of such and such person. Neither is being the son or grandson of so-so person taken into consideration, nor is your wealth. Wealth will come and go. Your status will come and go. Everything has a purpose in life. As long as something fulfills its purpose, it will have value, and the owner of that thing will look after it. If it does not fulfill its purpose, its value decreases. It will not be looked after. Take the example of a pen. It will be useful if it allows you to write, but when the ink runs out, it becomes worthless. Muslims also have responsibilities. We also have responsibilities. And as long as they are fulfilled, they will gain success and honor. But what are these responsibilities? What are our responsibilities? The Quran says, Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, you are the best amongst all those nations which appeared amongst the people. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla goes on to explain why. You command good and you forbid evil and you believe in Allah. Imam Fakhruddin Razi Rahmatullah explains the meaning of this verse, that all Muslims, it is written on the preserved tablet that you are the most superior nation, and it is your responsibility to maintain that mark. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you this title, that you are the most superior. You are the most superior. Now it is your job to make sure that you maintain that standard. It's your job to maintain that label. You have been given this label that you are the best nations. And if, Allah forbid, we go away from that, we are no longer the best nation, we don't live up to that, what will happen to us? We'll surely be disgraced. In that verse, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions 4 qualities. 4 qualities of the ummah of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in essence, these attributes are responsibilities which form our purpose of life. The first one, the Prophet Allah Azza wa Jalla says that you are the best of all nations. Abdul Mustafa Azmi Rahmatullah explains this verse. He says that the first purpose of a Muslim's life is to be the best of nations. It is necessary for a flower to have fragrance, a pearl to be luminous, and the sun to emit light. Similarly, it is necessary for Muslims to ensure that their actions are greater than those of the previous nations. Whether our actions are related to worship, business, character, or actions, we must always abide by the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah. One must remain steadfast upon the Quran and the Sunnah and walk upon the right path. I've said it many times before, that each and every person that is in this room today, and every single person that is watching this on Madani Channel, you are all ambassadors. You are all ambassadors of the Deen of Islam. You all represent Islam. So if you do something good, it won't be that Ali did something good or Abdullah did something good. It'll be that Muslims did something good. If you do something bad, it'll be the same thing. It'll be the same thing. It comes in the media that the Muslims did this. It won't be that individual that did it. It's the Muslims that did this. And if you think about it, look at history. Look at people that came to Islam, all the people that came to Islam. The majority of them, 95%, maybe even 99% of the people that came to Islam, how did they come? Did they study the Quran? Compare it to the science? Did they study the Quran and compare it to the other books? No. They looked at you. They looked at you. They looked at your character. They looked at the person in front of them. Because that person in front of them is the salesman of Islam. You're all salesmen, you're all ambassadors, you're all representing Islam, your character. I've unfortunately been working in offices. I was working in an office and there was a pub culture where they would go and drinking on a Friday. Every Friday during the lunch they would say, "Are you coming to the pub for a drink?" I said, "No." "Why not?" "I'm a Muslim, I don't drink." And then they would give me the names of these Muslims, and I don't want to mention them names because it's disrespectful to the names that they were named after. They said, "This Muslim, such and such, he goes to the pub. This Muslim, he goes to this." And I said, well, they can do what they want, but I don't. You all represent Islam. You're all giving an image of Islam. Whatever you do in your day-to-day life, you represent Islam. And you need to understand this. I remember once somebody said to me, I was talking to an atheist. I've mentioned this before on Madani Channel. I was talking to an atheist, and I tried to convince him of the Creator. I tried to look at the moon, look at the stars, look at all the chemicals inside the human body, look at how the human body was made. And he turned around to me and he said, "You buy and sell cars, don't you, sometimes?" I used to. I don't do it much now. He said to me, "Would you ever buy a car without seeing it?" And I went, "No." And he said, "Do you expect me to believe in God without seeing it, and yet you wouldn't even buy a car without seeing it?" And I thought, he's right. He's right. And for a few moments I thought, what do I say here? But then I realized, no, he's wrong. And there's two reasons. Number one, would I buy a car without seeing it? Yes, under two conditions. Number one, the car's cheap. Someone phones you up and they offer you, I don't know, 2020 car, and they say it's only £1,500, £2,000. Yeah, that sounds good. But then there's a second condition, that the person that rings you up is honest. He's a truthful person. Because if he's not honest and he's not truthful, no matter how good the bargain is, no, he's a dodgy person. I'm not buying it off him. Now let's turn the table. When it comes to giving Islam to people, what are we offering? Are we offering a good deal? Yes, we're offering a good deal. We're offering paradise. We're offering Jannat. We're offering the afterlife. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you were to put your finger in the water, this water is the dunya. The ocean, that's the akhirat. So we're offering the akhirat. So the deal's good. What's the problem? The salesman. I lie, I cheat, I swear, I backbite, I do insurance fraud, I do credit card fraud, I do all these frauds. Who's going to listen to me? Even if I'm speaking the truth, nobody will listen to me. Nobody will listen to me. Even if I'm speaking the truth, they will not listen to me. So it's important upon us. And this is why Dawah Islami, and whenever you come to these gatherings, we keep on talking about character reformation, improving the character. It is important, important and upon every Muslim to spread the deen. But if you cannot spread the deen by standing up here, at least spread a good image of the deen. Be good in front of people, be kind in front of people. The second thing that's mentioned in there, that Allah says, that these people, you command good and you forbid evil. This is a responsibility upon us. To command good and forbid evil. To tell people to do good things and to stop them from committing evil, wherever you can. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you see something bad, try and stop it with your hand. If you can't stop it with your hand, then stop it with your tongue and say it's bad. If you can't stop it with your tongue because you're weak, whatever, then at least in your heart realize that what's happening is wrong. Nowadays, we don't even think about it. It's not my problem, is it? Not my problem just because he's committing this and he's committing this. It's not my problem, is it? We don't even realize that what is happening in front of us is wrong, and we don't say that it's wrong. It is our duty to command what is good and forbid what is evil. Wherever we are possible, wherever we have an authority. A father, a mother has authority with his children to command them to do good and forbid them from evil. But do we do this? I see it in this madrasa, I see it in madrasas up and down the country. We are creating a nation of children that believe that salah, namaz is fard upon us 5 times a day. Yes? We are creating a nation of children that believe salah is fard upon us 5 times a week. A week. And I'll tell you why. They come to the madrasa. During the madrasa time, it's Salatul Asr or it's Salatul Maghrib, they read it. When they go home, they don't read it. So in their mind, what do they think? Salah is something that you read when you go to the madrasa. How many times do I go to the madrasa? 5 times a week. So how many times is it further upon me? 5 times a week. That's what we are creating. And then there's the other set of Muslims that believe Salah is further upon us once a week. Once a week. Friday. Why is it that this masjid and every masjid is full on Friday and not full on the other namaz? Is it that Friday is the only prayer that's further upon us? No. And this is where we ourselves are going wrong. We are making this mistake. We are going from that. We're not commanding what is good and forbidding what is evil. And we need to realize this. It is our duty. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, appear amongst the people, you command good and you forbid evil. Inviting towards good and prohibiting evil is the responsibility of the Muslims. But it's unfortunate that many Muslims turn away from this. A strange mindset, there's a mindset amongst us now, that the only people that have this responsibility of telling people what is right and telling people what is wrong Islamically are the Mulvis. It's the Mulvi's responsibility. Nobody else's responsibility. What does the word Mulvi mean, first of all? Mulvi means a person of Allah. A person of Allah. And in essence, everybody is a person of Allah. It's everybody's responsibility. And as parents, what Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, save yourselves and your family from that fire whose fuel is stones and men. It is your responsibility to save your children. Your responsibility to save yourself. Not the Imam Sahib's responsibility. We bring them, on the day of judgment, you'll be questioned, what did you do about the tarbiyat, the upbringing of your children? I took him to Fazana Madina, excellent Qari, the excellent teacher there. He looked after him. That's not yours. Okay, that's part of your responsibility, but that's not the end all. On that day, Allah will not say to the Qari, what tarbiyat did you give to these children then? He'll say to you, what tarbiyat did you give to your children? It's your responsibility. How many of us take that tarbiyat seriously? We make sure that our children don't miss school. We make sure that our children read the homework. We make sure that the children do the homework. We make sure that our children have got the books, reading books, study books, all these sort of books. How many of us make sure that our children practice the sabak when they come home? How many of us give the books to our children that have got the seerat of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many buy them books to them? We'll buy them a chemistry book. We'll buy them a physics book. But will we buy them a book that tells them the seerah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And if we are honest with ourselves, everybody that is in this room, I'm not going to say put your hands up, don't put your hand up. But how many of us that are here today that have, because we're here today, we've got some sort of an Islamic mindset. Because we are here today, we've got this mindset. Allah Azza wa Jalla has given us the ability to come here. But how many amongst us have read a seerah of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many of us read about his life? How many have read about the lives of the companions of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many of the sisters that are watching this have read about the lives of the mothers of the believers? How many of the sisters that are watching this program today have read about the life of Sayyidatuna Fatimatu Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? How many of us have read about this? These are our role models. These are the people that we need to look up to. These are the people that we need to follow. But unfortunately, we know more about football than we know about them. We know more about cricket than we know about them. We know which player is going to be transferred from which team to another team. What the transfer fee is. What his new salary is. What his new kits look like. What the home kit is. What the away kit. We know all of these things. Do you know anything about the lives of the companions? Those companions that were guaranteed paradise. Do you know anything about the righteous Khalifas? This is our rich heritage. But we don't know this. And if you read about the history of Islam, every person that we remember today, every name that is mentioned by the Imam Sahib, be it the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be it the companions of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be it the tabi'in, be it our pious predecessors, every single one of them, the duty was to forbid evil and promote good. This job is our job as well. This job of promoting this, of bringing people closer to the deen, of stopping people from committing sins. If your son was drowning, if someone you knew was drowning, would you not help him? If someone was on fire, would you not help them? Yes, you would help them. But when that same person is committing them actions that's going to put them in the fire, why are you not helping him now? Why not stopping him now? He's performing those sins that he's going to be in an eternal fire. Or be in a fire for a long time. And that fire, Allahu Akbar. A pious person recently said, there are people on this planet. Many people are ill. Right this moment in time, there are many people that are ill, many people that are suffering, many people that are in pain. He said, if you were to get all of the pain, all of the suffering that the whole of the people on the planet are facing, put it in one person, that pain, that suffering that one person would feel would be lighter, would be less than the smallest punishment in the hellfire. So now, our Muslim brother is committing those sins that unless he stops doing it, unless he repents, he's going to be in that fire. Not my problem. I don't care. Is that right? If you were on fire, would you not want somebody to help you? If you were drowning, would you not want somebody to help you? You know, a lot of the time, there are people out there that are committing sins and they don't even realize it. We need to help them. They're waiting for our help. Why are we not telling people? Why are we not reminding people? This is our duty, to remind people. And if they don't listen, then your job is done. Sayyidina Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, he said, Ya Allah, what is the reward for inviting someone to do good? Inviting someone to the path of righteousness. What is the reward for this? And Allah Azza wa Jalla replied, for every word that you speak, 1 year's worship will be written in your book of deeds. 1 year's worship. Now, if you listen to what he said carefully, Ya Allah, what is the reward for inviting someone to the path of righteousness? Inviting someone to do good. Not being successful. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam said, no. He didn't say, Ya Allah, what is the reward for a successful invitation? No. What is the reward for an invitation? The farmer's job is to plant the seeds. He does his job. That's his job done, isn't it? His job is to plant the seeds. The rest is up to Allah. Our job is to keep planting the seeds. Continuously plant the seeds. The farmer, when he plants the seeds, if they don't all grow, what does he do? Forget it. I'm not going to do it. No, he carries on planting seeds. Or he digs a little bit deeper, or he moves the soil a little bit. He tries a different way and he plants it. Keeps on planting the seed. He never gives up. Why do we give up? We should never give up on anybody. We should constantly be calling people back. And unfortunately, we are seeing today, in today's world, that when I said to you about calling people to Islam, that's one thing. The other concern that we've got nowadays is that our own Muslims are going away from the deen of Islam. Just recently in this country, when the census was issued, and messages were going around, subhanallah, subhanallah, so what are you saying subhanallah for? They said, look at this, the Muslim percentage in this country has increased. Previously we were 3%, 4%, now we're 6, 7%. Subhanallah. But look at the atheism. Look at the rise of that. Look at the percentages that rise. Are you not concerned about that? Do you think that you're immune to that disease? Do you immune to them illnesses that are happening in society that, no, this is not going to happen to Muslims? This is happening to us and it's our duty now to protect our iman. To protect the iman, not only of our iman, but the iman of future generations as well. You know, I sometimes look and I think about our elders that came to this country in the 60s. They came in the 60s and the 50s and the early 70s. They had no language. They had no education. They had no money. They had no resources. They had no contacts. And at that time, a majority of them had this mindset that we're going to go back. They all had this mindset that we're going to go back. But what did they do? They built the masajids. They did a fantastic job. They did an amazing job. No education in the majority of the cases, no resources, no money, no contact, no language, and they did this. What did the next generation do? Nothing. What did the generation have to do that? Nothing. We're living off the sadaqah of them in the majority of cases. And alhamdulillah, Dawah Islami is here today to make these masjids. And if it was not for Dawah Islami, these places would not be here. It's our elders that did their job. We're not doing our job. So inviting people to good and forbidding them evil is not just verbal. Having these centers, having madrasas, having jamias, having these ijtimas, this is a way that maybe you cannot invite someone, maybe you cannot talk to someone, but you can help fund these centers, you can help run these centers, you can call people to these centers. If you invite someone to the ijtima, and this is a task I want everybody to do, next week, take it upon yourself to invite at least 12 people to this ijtima. Just 12 people. Just think what your reward will be if you invite 12 people. That's all you have to do. Invite 12 people to the ijtima, and insha'Allah, the reward will be there. The example of a person abiding by the limits of Allah has established in comparison to he who oversteps this limit is like the example of a people drawing lots for seats on a boat. Some of them will have seats in the upper section and others will be in the area below. The people in the lower area must pass through those in the upper section to attain water, and the latter are troubled by this. What happens is people, you're at the top of the boat. You think there's no problem. Everything's okay. I've got nothing to worry about. But nobody worries about those people below there. There's a fire going on next door. You think, I'm all right. The fire's not here. But unless you do something about it, in the same way that them people that are at the bottom of the boat, they think, well, they're not letting us go up there, so you know what? We'll dig a hole and we'll go out this way. And when they dig a hole in the bottom of the boat, you're going to sink with them as well. In the same way, unless you put the fire out next door, that fire's going to come to you. So we shouldn't have this mindset, I'm okay. There's a saying in English, I'm all right, Jack. As long as I'm okay, I'm okay. No. That should never happen. And we are foolish to think that. If we think that we have got a vaccination against these problems, you haven't. You may have been vaccinated against COVID, but you're not vaccinated against these sins that we're talking about today. You're not vaccinated against your iman going, losing your iman. You've not got that vaccination. Nobody's got that vaccination. So if you haven't got that vaccination to protect your iman, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to protect your iman? You need to think about this. Not only my iman, but what happens after me, my children's iman. What's going to happen to them? What guarantees have I got that I will die with iman? None. But now if I start thinking about my children and my grandchildren that are here, that my elders brought to this country. We came to this country for a better life. Our elders, they came to this country, why? For a better life. But someone said to me that better life is going to cost you. And I said to him, what do you mean it's going to cost us? He says, yes, it's going to cost you. And I said, what's the price? He said, your children. That's the price you will pay. You build them coatis back home. You got a nice house here and a nice car here. You get all of them things, but if you lose your children, tell me, is it worth it? So I'm not saying don't build them coatis back home. Yeah, do all them things. But at the same time, make sure that you do those things to protect your iman of your children. The fourth thing that is mentioned in the ayat that I mentioned earlier on is that you believe in Allah. The fourth responsibility of the Muslim Ummah is mentioned in the Quran as, and you believe in Allah. The quality is possessed by every Muslim. We believe in Allah and we worship Him alone. We must ask ourselves, do we fulfill the requirements of faith? The Sayyid Ibrahim al-Khawas, Rahmatullah Ta'ala, was asked, what does faith truly mean? What is its reality? He replied, protecting your reliance upon Allah is the reality of faith. We must rely upon Allah at all times. And this reliance should not decrease if our situation is bad. Protecting this is the reality of faith. Do we really rely upon Allah? Do we really put faith in Allah? You know, nowadays people are running after money, running after wealth. And they don't realize that this risk is written for you. If the people in this room that are sat here today, if it is in your destiny to become a millionaire, you will become a millionaire. But you have a choice, whether you go through halal means or through haram means. And if it is in your destiny never to become a millionaire, it's in your destiny to be poor all your life. Again, it's your choice, through halal and haram means. Do we rely on Allah? Do we trust Allah? Do we put our faith in Allah? Unfortunately, we haven't got that tawakkul inside us. And that again is something that we need to develop. Do I say, do you believe in Allah? You say, I believe in Allah. Okay, you believe in Allah. In what way do you believe in Allah? In what way do you believe in Allah? What trust do you put in Allah? What faith do you have in Allah? We need to have that faith and we need to develop that faith. We need to get that spirituality inside ourselves, get our connection with our faith, get our connection with the Quran. You're not going to make an announcement now. The Quran is not just a book for Ramadan. Unfortunately, with a lot of us, the Quran is the book for Ramadan. You know, like I mentioned earlier on, the people that pray 5 times a week, the people that pray once a week, there's a lot of people that they only open the Quran in the book of Ramadan. The Quran is not just for the month of Ramadan. We read it during the month of Ramadan and then that's it. Dust gets on it, all sorts gets on it. And the only time we take it off the shelf is when someone passes away or the month of Ramadan comes. And even then there's no guarantee of it. We need to get ourselves that connected back to our deen. Connection with the Quran, connection with our deen, connection with the life of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, connection with these pious predecessors that made these sacrifices for us. It's because of the sacrifices that they made that we are Muslims today. The sacrifices that are made in the past is because of them that we are Muslims today. If people didn't make sacrifices, didn't give time to the deen, do you think we'd be Muslims today? I've said it many, many times before. Go back in your history, 100 years, 200 years. A lot of us that are sitting here today, you'll find somebody that wasn't a Muslim. Yes, there may be Sayyids here. Yes, there may be other people that they can take the lineage back to the Quraysh. But a lot of us, if we go back, we'll find out that there were non-Muslims in our family. How did they become Muslims? Did they just wake up one day and say, I'm a Muslim? No, people spent time on them. People invited them to the deen. The people that they met, they were impressed with them. If that person in your history didn't, where would you be today? We have got a job to do to protect our Iman and to protect the Iman of our children and the Iman of future generations. And this is what Dawah Islam is here for. Dawah Islam is here that I must strive to reform myself. I'm here to sort myself out and then reform the people of the whole world. Now this reforming yourself, this sorting yourself out, this is the first part of the statement. This I must strive to reform myself, that never finishes. I can never say, you know what, I've reformed myself, I'm sorted now. I don't need to worry about myself, worry about everybody. No, this continues always. Shaitan will always try to entice you to commit a sin. Even when it's the time that the angel of death comes to you, at that crucial moment, Shaitan will come to you and try and take your Iman away from you. You need to protect your Iman. You need to safeguard your Iman. You need to put locks on your Iman. And the only way that you can do that is if you live your life according to the deen of Islam. Because if you don't, then Shaitan will grab you. Shaitan will entice you. Shaitan will whisper to you. Shaitan will cause all sorts of problems. And especially the youth today that they're going to the colleges and the universities. I'm fearful for them. I'm worried about them. That when they go out, what locks have they got on the Iman? Society at the moment is not helping you to be Muslims. Society at the moment is not helping you to believe in Allah. Society at the moment is encouraging you to leave this, encouraging you to go away from Islam. But we need to bring ourselves back. Become aware of our deen. Deen needs to be part of our life. We need to live our life as Muslims. Read our salah 5 times a day. Read the Quran, get the connection with the Quran. I check my social media messages 20 times a day. How many times do I check what Allah Azza wa Jalla wants me to read every day? Can we not read the Quran every day? Is it so much to ask? Is it so hard to read 3 verses of the Quran? Amir al-Sunnah, the founder of Dawah Islam, in the Pious Deed book, the one that I mentioned earlier on, he mentions in there, read at least 3 verses of the Quran every day with the translation and commentary. Just 3 verses. How long does that take? 7 minutes, 8 minutes? You know, if anybody here has ever studied geology, and even if you haven't studied geology, you'll understand what I'm going to say. If water drops on a stone, top, 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 it makes a mark in that stone. And if it continues to fall on that stone, it'll make a hole in that stone. 3 verses on our heart every day. Will it not make a change? I pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla, if I've said anything wrong, may Allah Azza wa Jalla forgive me. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah give me and you the ability to think about what I've said, to act upon what I've said, and to pass this message on to others as well. Ameen bi jahin nabil ameen. Sallu ala al-habib.
Mubarak for you is my prayer. May you keep ascending success stair. Mubarak for you is my prayer. May you keep ascending success stair.